Yo, what is going on, you guys? It's your boy King Sanders here, and we are here with a mock draft. I will be uploading this, and by the time it gets uploaded, it'll probably be directly before the draft, so it'll be cutting it close because my Wi-Fi is not very good, but I am recording this as of earlier in the day. My camera's a little bit different than what you guys normally see if you guys watch my rebuilds. But yes, all of my stuff is in my closet. So my PC is here, my PlayStation and my monitors and stuff are over here. So I'm just gonna be giving a mock draft, what I think every team should do, what I think is probably going to happen, and at the end of the day, we're gonna look and see just how accurate these ones are. So if you guys have watched my videos, you guys will know a lot of these picks. There was a report already that the Pistons did say that they're for sure getting Cade Cunningham. Really don't have to explain that one too much. Next, we do have Houston here, and I think that the best player for Houston is actually going to be Jalen Green. Overall, I just think that he's just such a tremendous scorer. I think that he's going to be a key part of their future, and I just really like Jalen Green's play style a lot. So I think that him, alongside some of the younger guys in Houston, and with the upbringing of Christian Wood, who actually had a really good season last year, I think that it's just a really great spot for him. So next, we do have the Cleveland Cavaliers here. In all honesty, I do think that they offered the qualifying offer to Jared Allen. I think they're going to look to trade Colin Sexton for maybe some wing play, or maybe to fill that power forward position once Kevin Love is officially gone. So I think that they are actually going to take Jalen Suggs here. I think that they're pretty much going to have Garland at the one, like full-time, nothing more, and having Jalen Suggs kind of play that two position or flip the two. It doesn't really matter. But I do think that they are going to move on from Colin Sexton, look to trade him. If Evan Mobley falls to 4, there's no doubt in my mind the Raptors are going to take him. If you guys saw my rebuild, he's literally the last piece that they would need. Then they could bring back Kyle Lowry, and you're talking about a potential championship team once again. So definitely the right pick there. So next we have the Orlando Magic. So this one's interesting. For the longest time, I thought there was no doubt in my mind it was going to be Jonathan Kuminga. Hands down, 100%. But now it does get a little bit different. I've been seeing a lot of hype around Scottie Barnes. Everybody has been kind of saying that Scottie Barnes is kind of the guy, that he's an absolute monster, which I believe it. He probably is. And honestly, they do need some wing play. I think that Cole Anthony is going to be a very great piece to that team in the future. I think Wendell Carter Jr. was a great addition to the team. So now, in all seriousness, I think that you couldn't go wrong with Jonathan Kuminga or Scottie Barnes. I'm going to have them take Kuminga just for the mere fact that I just think that they need a little bit more scoring, because they do have Jonathan Isaac, who is a very, very good player. Don't get me wrong, one of the best defensive players in the entire league, hands down. Honestly, it's not even really close. Him and Rudy Gobert are kind of in a category of their own when it comes to defense. So I think that they do need a little bit more scoring there to help out some of the younger players on the team. So Jonathan Kuminga 5 to Orlando. Number 6, we do have Oklahoma City Thunder here. The Thunder are in an interesting spot too, because obviously they're not going to give up Shea. They did kind of find a young piece in Moses Brown, who does have a little bit of potential. They do have just a very solid roster here overall. They did get Kemba Walker. Who knows if he's actually going to stay or not? I don't really know. They do have Pokazevsky. So I would think that they would want, and they have Lou Dort still. So in my opinion, I think that they would need more of a scoring 2. Or maybe even a scoring 3. So for me, in my own personal opinion, I would honestly go, if I was the Thunder, I would probably go Josh Giddey, or I'm going to have them take James Bouknight. I do think that James Bouknight is probably a very good spot for the Thunder. I think that the Thunder, like I said, I just think they need a little bit more scoring. He can kind of play the 3, or he could, I could see them taking Scottie Barnes. I don't really know. So next we have the Golden State Warriors. I think that the Golden State Warriors are looking to win now. No doubt in my mind, I think they're trying to win right now. So they honestly just need a small forward, and they're kind of set. So I could foresee them taking Scotty Barnes here, and I think that is what I'm going to take. I think I'm going to have them take Scotty Barnes. Of course, he could, develop his shot just a little bit more to be able to fit the team even better. But when it comes to the Golden State Warriors, with Steph Curry kind of being towards the, not like the back of his career, but towards the back of, like, I would say towards like the back of his prime. He is getting a little bit older. Klay Thompson, he's coming off 2 injuries. Who knows what he's truly going to be in the future. And Draymond Green, we know he has just been regressing more and more. They still have James Wiseman, a super young center that has a lot of potential, and I do think that he could very well be a very good player. But I think that the right pick would probably be Scotty Barnes. Okay, so with the 8th pick here, I did have them taking Jonathan Kuminga with pick number 5, and I do think that was probably the right option. But they do still need some more kind of scoring off of like the shooting guard position, or they could use a little bit of a forward. But I think that they would be more focused on kind of like that wing play. So I'm going to have them select Josh Giddey here. I do think Josh Giddey is going to be a phenomenal player, 100%. I think that he's going to be a very, very good player. So, next we do have the Kings here. The Kings, they have their point guard of the future, De'Aaron Fox. They do have their shooting guard in Tyrese Haliburton, a really good 1-2 combo there. They have Buddy Hield kind of as that small forward position for now, but I definitely could see like Buddy Hield eventually moving to the bench. They have Harrison Barnes still, who's an okay 3-and-D option, and then they have they do have Richaun Holmes, who is a free agent, but I definitely think they're going to re-sign him or look to upgrade that center position. So this team, in all honesty, they're very young, very solid team, and I think that they would just be looking to add even more to that, even more like solid scoring from a young player. So I'm going to have them taking Franz Wagner, who is in the Big Ten, so I know him extremely well. Obviously, because I'm from Illinois, so I'm a huge Illinois fan, and I've watched Franz Wagner his past 2 years, and he's a very, very solid player. So next we have the Memphis Grizzlies. I did in my rebuild, if you guys did watch that, I couldn't put together a championship for them, but there wasn't really too much that this team truly needs. I just honestly sold the bag. It was my fault as to why this team didn't win. I had re-signed Jaren Jackson Jr., or I should have re-signed him a year earlier, and then re-signed Ja, and then kind of looked for a secondary piece after that. So honestly, it's my fault why they didn't win. But I do think in this situation here, I do think that Keon Johnson is going to be the pick. He provides a lot of scoring for that team, and honestly, that's one of the positions that they lack. I mean, I think Dylan Brooks is okay. I think Dylan Brooks is a solid piece, but I don't think that he's anything too crazy at the time being. So maybe in the future he could develop even more. But for now, I'm just going to have them take Keon Johnson out of Tennessee. And yeah, like I said, he's just a very solid scorer. Yeah, you really can't go wrong with Ja Morant, a young scorer, and like I said, Desmond Bane, he's been showing up too. I like Desmond Bane a lot. And then they have Triple J, and then now they just got Steven Adams. So I definitely think the team's in a good spot. Next, we have the Charlotte Hornets, who obviously drafted LaMelo Ball, who looks like he's going to be the point guard of the future here. They still have Terry Rozier. They still have Devontae Graham's a free agent, but I could definitely see them re-signing him. He was very solid. They got P.J. Washington. They got Miles Bridges. So it looks like they really just need some bigs, in all honesty, because they have Gordon Hayward too. And in all honesty, what's his name? I can't even think of his name. Cody Zeller is probably not going to be the answer for you. I don't think they're going to have the cap hold on him, and I think they're going to look for a center here. And I think Alperen Sengun. I know I'm butchering his name. I've watched a lot of highlights, but I think it's Alperen Sengun. I think that's what his name is. And he's one of the best centers in the draft this year. Extremely athletic, a very good scorer. He does need to work on his defense a little bit since he is only 6'9", but his athleticism does kind of make up for it. It's kind of like a Xavier Tillman or like a Precious, or even like, I'm drawing a blank right now, kind of like a Wendell Carter Jr. Wendell, I think, has like an inch taller than him, but he's kind of the same boat. I feel like he'd be a really good fit in Charlotte with LaMelo Ball and some of those young talents. So next here we have the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs, they really need bigs as well, which is kind of unfortunate. We don't really know what DeMar DeRozan, how it's going to work out. They could easily renounce the rights on him, and they could be looking at a big offseason. I think that DeJounte Murray's kind of the point guard of the future. I think Derek White's solid. I think Lonnie Walker's solid. Devin Vassell is solid. Keldon Johnson's pretty good. So, and I think that they're only going to get better. So, and then they, have Trey Jones and some of these other players. So, I don't really know what this team's going to do. This was definitely one of the more difficult ones for me. I think for right now, I'm going to have them go Usman Garuba, just because it does kind of fit some of their, because they do have like Drew Eubanks and Lucas Samanic, but honestly, that's not going to be the answer for you. Not going to be what you're looking for. It's, like that's just not. It's not somebody that you want as your starting 4 and starting 5. Like that's not the way that you want to go. Next, we have the Pacers. I have watched the Pacers a lot this year. I love the Pacers. I think that they're in a very good spot. The only thing is they don't really have a whole lot of defense outside of Miles Turner. I do like Karis LeVert a lot. I think that was a great addition to the team. Sabonis has turned into a monster this year. Miles Turner is one of the best 3-and-D centers that we have in the league. TJ Warren's an absolute bucket, but I do think that they need a little bit of defense. And I know that Davion Mitchell has fallen all the way down to 13 in my mock draft. I just think that that's probably where it's going to go. I hate to say it, but I do think that Davion Mitchell does fall. He is a little bit older. I don't see a whole lot of, win now with him. So I just think that that'd be a very solid pickup for off the bench alongside like TJ McConnell and some of those other guys off the bench, the Holiday brothers. So stuff like that. So next we have the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors was another tough one for me. But I think with Scotty Barnes, since Scotty Barnes is a much better defensive player, I think they are going to look for some offense here. And I don't think you could go wrong with Jalen Johnson or Corey Kispert. But I think that they're going to want to get some shooting, and I think they're going to want one of the best shooters in the draft this year. Corey Kispert, and he probably is the best shooter in the draft. I don't really know why I said that, but he probably is the best shooter in the draft. Next, we have the 15th pick with the Washington Wizards here. The Washington Wizards, actually, really quick, that was the end of the lottery. So if you guys wanted to check out just one more time, this is good. This is my lottery predictions. I do think that it's going to go very similar to this. I could be wrong in some different instances, but I have a pretty good feeling that this is going to be close. This is going to be close. I'll definitely recap it after the draft, stuff like that, but I think it's going to be close. But with the Washington Wizards, they have Jalen Johnson left on the board. They have Moses Moody, Sharif Cooper, Trey Murphy, and Chris Duarte. Very, very solid guards here. So I know that they're mostly like they have Westbrook, they have Bradley Beal, they have Bertans, who's a young player. They got Rui, who's honestly a very, very good young player. They have Denny, who we haven't really seen if he's gonna be like a monster yet or not. They do have from the Bulls Chandler Hutchinson. They have Daniel Gafford from the Bulls. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know what all they would really need. I think that they would probably be looking, because Denny did get injured, so it's kind of hard to tell when it comes to Denny. We don't really know what all he's going to turn out to be, but I do think that they would look for another guy to pair alongside Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, because I think Davis Bertans is pretty much going to be the starting 4 for right now. I guess I could see Denny going to the 4, but it would be kind of tough for me. And then I know that they are missing out on the center position. They do need some help there, but Thomas Bryant, I can't remember. I think he's going to be back from his injury this year, and he's a pretty solid defensive young center. So I'm going to have them taking Jalen Johnson out of Duke. I do see a lot of potential from Jalen Johnson. I don't know. There was too many question marks about him. I just didn't think that he would be like a for sure winner, in all honesty. So the Oklahoma City Thunder have picked 16. They also have picked 34, 36, and 55. So they definitely have a lot of picks this year. But I don't know if they're going to keep Shea, or I know they're keeping Shea. I don't know if they're going to keep Kimba or not. If, let's just say theoretically they do end up keeping Kimba, they have Shea still, they have Pokazevsky, they have Baisley, they have Lou Dort. So I think, and then I had them just select James Bouknight. So I think that they would probably be looking for more of like a forward, whether it be like a shooting guard that could kind of play the small forward position, or just a straight up, like a power forward or like a center. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'll have them take. See, this is where the draft gets kind of shaky for me, but I think I'm going to have them take Moses Moody. I could see them kind of running a Kemba Walker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. And then like a Moses Moody, or yeah, like a Moses Moody at the 3, Pokazevsky, and maybe Moses Brown, or yeah, they could just do so many different things with that team. There's so many possibilities. So I could be way off on that Thunder pick, and I'd be perfectly fine with it. So with the 17th pick, it is the New Orleans Pelicans. I did a rebuild on them, and realistically, all they need is a shooting guard. That's all they need, and then they will be pretty much set. If they bring back Lonzo, which I would be very shocked if they didn't, I would be willing to bet that they bring him back. But I did see a lot of reports they're trying to go for Kyle Lowry. I don't know why they'd give up such a young talent in Lonzo Ball to go get Kyle Lowry, but I guess if you're trying to win now, I understand it. But if you're wanting to win more in the future, I would just keep Lonzo. But hey, what do I know? So maybe they would draft a point guard here since they are, or well, no, they wouldn't draft a point guard. They would draft probably a 2 guard. Like I said, that's really the only thing that they need. So I could see them going Trey Murphy, Chris Duarte, or even Cam Thomas. I think that all of them are solid, but I think I'm going to have them take Chris Duarte. I really like Chris Duarte this year. He brings like a lot of scoring in. He's a very solid player, and I just think that he could elevate that team to the next level. I mean, you look at Lonzo Ball, and then they have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but he could technically be moved to the 6th man. So Chris Duarte, Brandon Ingram, which I saw they might try to trade Brandon Ingram to the Heat. I don't know. That's kind of a crazy one to me. And then they have Zion, and now they picked up Jonas Valanciunas. I mean, that's a very solid roster, so I could definitely see that. So now it does get kind of interesting here. So I think that with this pick, with the 18th pick, I don't think that the Thunder are going to pass up another big man. They definitely need to address some of the big man positions just because you have let's see. So you have Moses Brown, but realistically, other than that, you don't really have a whole lot of big man options. And I think, honestly, a guy like Isaiah Jackson would kind of fit into that perfectly. You could go Kai Jones. I could definitely see Kai Jones going over this. So I will, in the recap after the draft, if I'm wrong about this one and it is Kai Jones, I'm perfectly fine with that. No big deal. But I do think since he is an inch taller, I'm just going to have him take Isaiah Jackson at pick 18. Like I said, I don't think they're going to pass up on a big man, especially after the 3rd draft pick, so in the 1st round, let alone. So definitely don't think that they're going to. So now we have the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks have actually made a pretty good statement this year. They obviously made the playoffs. They did end up losing to the Atlanta Hawks, I believe. So they're close. Julius Randle turned out into an absolute monster this year. Obviously, R.J. Barrett played really well. They had Emmanuel Quickley, who they drafted last year, who turned into an absolute monster. They had Derrick Rose, who actually played a very good veteran-type role. They had Reggie Bullock, Nerlens Noel. So I think if they were going to, I think they'd want to get some more scoring, and I think that they could honestly go with probably Sharif Cooper. We don't know if they're going to re-sign Derrick Rose or not in the offseason, if they're going to end up keeping him, if they're going to end up letting him walk. We don't know, but I do think that any of these 3 guys would be perfectly fine. Sharif Cooper, Trey Murphy, or Cam Thomas, I would be perfectly fine with it. I genuinely don't think you could go wrong with either of them. I think for now, Actually, I'm going to have him take Trey Murphy. I'm going to have him take Trey Murphy. The only reason why is because he is 6'8", so he can kind of play that, you know, because they do have RJ Barrett playing the 2 right now, or the 3 right now. They could technically move RJ Barrett back to the 2. Maybe Emmanuel quickly starts next year, and then I could see Murphy kind of start or in that starting 3 position, which I think would be very, very solid. They still have Obi Toppin, who barely played. Julius Randle was a monster. If they end up re-signing Nerlens Noel, a very well, I shouldn't say solid, but you know, he's a little above average of a defensive center, so can't argue with that one. With the 20th pick, we have the Atlanta Hawks here. The Atlanta Hawks are in an interesting position as well. Because they were really good last year. They were really, really good. And I just don't know. This team is just very solid. Obviously, they have their answer here with Trae Young. They have Kevin Huerter, who was honestly very solid. They have Cam Reddish that I saw that they're trying to trade away because they're not going to be able to re-sign him, or something like that. Something along those lines anyway. Power forward, obviously they have he's not on the team right now, I guess, because he is a free agent, but they have John Collins, who they really need to prioritize bringing him back. He was very solid. Then they have Clint Capella, they have Bogdanovich, they have DeAndre Hunter, they have Onyeka Okongwu, who didn't even like touch the floor last year really, and he still has a lot of potential. So I think this is kind of just a gimme pick. Like, you can literally do whatever you want with this pick. I guess we could have them, because I don't think Chris Dunn worked out. I think that they're going to let Chris Dunn walk. I guess he has a player option, so it is his option at the end of the day. But I just don't think he'll get any minutes at all that next year. So I'll just have him take Sharife Cooper. Sharife Cooper shows a lot of potential, but it's just, I mean, with this team, like, I don't even know where you'd go. Anyway, but the next pick in the draft, we do have the Knicks once again. They have very close picks, you know, like one after another. So I do think that they should have a really good draft this year. And I don't know, man. Like I said before, maybe they could look to upgrade one of their big man positions. Maybe run Julius Randle at the power forward and maybe bring in a new guy to be able to run the center position. I could see something like that. So I will go with Kai Jones. I think that he's a very solid player there. And I just think that, you know, Kai Jones is going to be able to bring just a little bit extra of a spark to that roster. So I like it. Next, we have the Los Angeles Lakers here with the 22nd pick. Honestly, I don't know what this team needs. I mean, Dennis Schroeder definitely wasn't really the answer. Do they bring him back? Maybe. KCP is all right, but realistically, is that who you want as like one of the best, or like one of your top guys on your roster? Probably not, because like obviously LeBron and Anthony Davis are your main guys. Then you have Drummond, you have Trez, but then who? Maybe KCP. Like, that's not really who you want to go to. So I think I'm going to have him select Cam Thomas. I like Cam Thomas a lot. It'll be a change of pace from a 3-and-D guy to another absolute bucket getter. So then you'll have then you'll obviously be able to run a line like, maybe you could start Cam Thomas at the 1, crazy enough as it sounds, and then KCP, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Drummond if they end up bringing Drummond back, or if he takes that low of a deal again. I don't know if he will or not. But, or you could even just have him as the 6th man, have him as like the spark plug, because, I mean, Trez is a really good 6th man, so maybe you could make maybe a 7th man. I don't know what they would do over there, but I'm just going to have them take Cam Thomas, very solid player. So the 23rd pick, we do have the Houston Rockets here. I did have them take Jalen Green with the 2nd overall pick, and he would really just fill that shooting guard position. I don't think that there would be any question about that. So I think that they would probably look for any sort of a forward at all, and I think that pretty much your options would be, I don't know, maybe you could go Trey Mann, because Jalen Green is technically 6'6", so you could run him at the 3. You would still have John Wall. You'd still have Kevin Porter Jr., who showed a lot of promise. You'd still have Jayshawn Tate, Kenyon Martin Jr. So maybe you just get some more scoring and say, honestly, who cares about defense, and hopefully it works out. So I could see them taking Jared Butler if he drops this low, though. A really solid defensive player, but can also score pretty well. But I just think Trey, man, I think he's just a little bit better. So they have back-to-back picks. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, they do. I just completely forgot about it. So, actually, I wish I could go back. I don't know if I can or not. Am I able to go back? No, I'm not. Okay. Oh well. So, I mean, yeah, Trey Mann's a very solid player. He would be a really good piece off the bench, especially if they look to, like, trade Eric Gordon, clear up cap space, maybe even clear up Kelly O and clear up some cap space. But next, I really don't know what they would do. Maybe, I think I'll have him take Zaire Williams. If he drops to 28, I do think that's tremendous value. He's a really good player. And he's honestly going to be a steal of this draft, I think. But I just don't know. I don't know. It's kind of a tough situation here. The Clippers, they're only, as we have known for many, many, many years, their only flaw right now, if they end up getting Kawhi Leonard back, which I feel like he will, but who really knows? So if they end up getting Kawhi Leonard back, all they need is a point guard. Patrick Beverley is not the answer. You don't even want me to start on Patrick Beverley. So I don't think that they would go Jared Butler, just because Jared Butler, in my opinion, reminds me a lot of Patrick Beverley. Not necessarily the way he is. We know Patrick Beverley's a clown. We know that he's literally just gets in their head. But I think that he's more of like a defensive type of center, and I don't think that they would want to go down that route again. So I think that they would go with more of a scoring point guard. So I think that I'm going to have them take Jaden Springer if it does end up going just like this. I just think that that's a really solid spot for him. Next, we do have the Denver Nuggets, who have built a very good squad over here. Obviously, Jamal Murray unfortunately got injured last year, so but they do still have him. They still have Michael Porter Jr., who showed a ton of potential. I love Michael Porter Jr. They obviously have, Jokic, who just won MVP. They had Aaron Gordon, who they traded for in the middle of the year. They had JaVale McGee. So I think that they would honestly be looking for more of a shooting guard. So I could see them going. Let's see. Honestly, you know what I'm going to do? I think for this pick, at this point in the draft, my mock draft's going to be completely messed up. But, and it's not even really going to be close. I just know that by the time it gets to pick 26, there's just no shot it's going to be right. But I'm going to have the Nuggets select Jared Butler. You can technically run him at the 2. Like I said, he is a pretty good defensive player. I could see them pairing him up because, let's be honest, Jamal Murray, not a really good defensive player. Michael Porter Jr. doesn't really play defense at all. They honestly play whoever offense on him. Aaron Gordon has never really been known for his defense. And Jokic, I mean, he's okay when it's inside defense, but other than that, so it would add some defense to the squad. I like that pick. If he ends up falling that low, of course. Next, we do have the Brooklyn Nets. So, the Brooklyn Nets, I mean, what do they really need? Do they need anything at all? Probably not. They definitely just kind of struggled with injuries last year. I don't think that there's any, I don't know. I genuinely don't think that this team really needs anything other than a big man to be able to get them rebounds. So I guess I could go with them taking either Charles Bassey or JT Thor. Yeah, I mean, hold on. Let me just take a look. I don't think that, I don't know. It won't let me check out his stats, but I guess Day'Ron Sharpe at 6'11". Yeah, we'll just have him take him, sure. At this point in the draft, I really don't know. 28th pick, that we do have the Sixers. The Sixers are interesting because who really knows what's going on over there? They are a team that, are they going to trade Ben Simmons? Who knows? Are they going to, end up keeping Danny Green? Who really knows? Do they keep Seth Curry? Do they keep Matisse Thybulle? Who really knows? Tyrese Maxey showed a lot of potential this year. I liked what he was doing. So do they just move on from Ben Simmons, get another piece, and then move Tyrese Maxey to the 1? I don't know. I have absolutely no idea what the 76ers are going to do. They're in such an interesting spot. So honestly, I'm just going to have them take some sort of a forward, or like a small forward, that can just provide them with some scoring. So I'm just going to go with Joshua Primo. He is, 6'6", but he can definitely play that small forward position. He's a very lanky 6'6". So obviously this team just won didn't win. They didn't win. Sorry, they did not win. But they went to 6 with the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Finals, so they definitely have a very solid team. But what it really comes down to, does Chris Paul stay? If Chris Paul stays, then I don't know, maybe you could look for a power forward. I don't think that Jalen Smith was the answer. I really don't. I don't think that Jaden Smith was the answer. But I don't know. Jalen Smith, that was his name. But I do think Mikal Bridges, I think that he was a very solid option. I think Cam Johnson was a very solid option. And honestly, Cameron Payne, coming off the bench, played phenomenal this year. So I think that they would need a big, if they were in this situation, just to get them a little bit more rebounds. Because we saw that once DeAndre Ayton got taken out and then Sarge was gone because he got injured, then they really didn't have anything, and they got out-rebounded by like 20 rebounds a game. Now, obviously, you are going up against Giannis, but realistically, you shouldn't be down by like 20 rebounds. So, I'll just have them take JT Thor. At this point in the draft, it's just so everywhere. So, now we have, with the final pick here, because I'm just going to do the first round. Sorry, I forgot to say that, but I'll put it in the title or something. I'm just gonna do the first round, and I don't know what the Jazz are gonna do either. It hasn't really been leaked anywhere. I think Mike Conley is a full free agent after this year. So he'll be a full free agent. So, and he was very solid. He did end up making the All-Star game. And then we obviously know Rudy Gobert. He's one of the best defensive centers in the entire league. You can't get really any better than that. And they have Donovan Mitchell, who's one of the best young prospects that we've had in a long time. He's definitely one of the best players under 25. I'd say definitely top 10. You could make a case for top 5 under 25. So I don't really know what this team's going to do. I think what I'm going to have them do, obviously there's some bias here. There's a lot of bias when it comes to this. There's a lot of bias. But just think about it for a second. If you look at their bench, okay, because their starters were usually this. They have Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell. Usually, I guess it kind of depends, between these two, Joe Ingles or Bogdanovich. So, you have Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, one of these guys, Royce O'Neal, it was mostly Royce O'Neal that played the 4, but they did kind of bring in Udoka Azubuike to try it there. They did also try to bring in, who was it? I'm drawing a blank. Derek Favors, but I think he was injured. Or maybe he just didn't play. I honestly don't remember. That's the one player I'm not really sure about. I just know he didn't really play a whole lot. But off their bench, they just have one of these guys. They have Jordan Clarkson, and I guess Udoka Azubuike. But other than that, they really didn't have anything off their bench. So I could definitely see, because Jordan Clarkson definitely has a couple more years on his contract. Joe Ingles, he does have one more year, so he'll be fine even if he is off the bench. But they don't really have a backup point guard. So I'm going to have them take my boy Ayo Dosunmu out of Illinois. And yeah, that's going to complete my first round of the mock draft. I could definitely just see Ayo going at the end of the first round, and that would make me really happy, especially because I've watched Ayo. I watched every Illinois game this past year, and Ayo Dosunmu is going to be an absolute steal. I don't foresee a way around it. It says 6'4", but I think that that's a lie. I think he's 6'5", maybe even close to 6'6". But he's linky. He has so much length to him. He's quick. The only thing is he doesn't have a super great jump shot. But he's working on it. He's still shot pretty decent in the college years. So I just think, especially his junior year, I guess he started off as a terrible shooter and he just kept getting better and better and better. So I could foresee him being a decent shooter. So, working behind a guy like Mike Conley as a veteran, I do think that would help him develop very well. So anyway, that is going to do it for me, you guys. I will scroll through here one more time just so you guys can kind of see my mock draft. But I am going to be closing this video up. I will be watching it, of course. I can't stream. I actually tried to stream last night just while I was playing some COD, just while I was kind of hanging out. And it was just dropping way too many frames. So, in all honesty, I just don't think I'm going to be able to stream until I eventually get my own place, get my own Wi-Fi, stuff like that. So these videos are going to be coming in hot. So make sure you guys are subbed to the channel. Make sure you guys turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. But yeah, honestly, this is going to be it. I'm very excited for this draft. Overall thoughts, I think that this draft class is extremely, extremely deep. I think that there's going to be a bunch of studs in the draft, and I think that has a potential for a lot of busts in the draft. But for now, this is King Center signing out. Peace.